You are listening to the Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast with your host, Aaron Zamzow.
Hey, everybody. Aaron Zamzow with the Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast. I got a great topic today to talk about, and it's about your excuses and how to get over them, how to make sure that your excuses don't stand in and or impede your fitness progress, especially now during the pandemic. So this is the FRF fitness excuses, top 5 firefighter fitness excuses debunked, the pandemic version. So we're going to talk about what some of those top excuses are, especially now during this pandemic, and what you can do to overcome them, and maybe to call a little bit of BS on you on why you're using them as an excuse. So I've done another podcast on this, and it's going to be very similar, but I wanted to make it a little bit more personable, especially considering what's going on in the world right now with the coronavirus pandemic. And the reason I did this article again and kind of shifted its direction is because right now we, as first responders, we need to really focus on keeping ourselves healthy, keeping our immune systems up, managing stress, managing anxiety. Now more than ever, because we are in the front lines, which we always knew, but I think a lot of times, during this time, we as firefighters and as first responders, we think, all right, all I got to do is get through this, and we start to put ourselves and our own personal health in the back burner, or and don't focus on it. And really, what we have to understand, and it's taken me a long time to understand this as well, but the better I care for myself, the better I do my job. And I think that's true with a lot of things, parenting especially as well. But as firefighters, EMTs, and medics, you take care of yourself, you perform better, you can respond better, and you can help those you serve better. And I think we really need to understand that, especially now. We're going to be asked to possibly work longer shifts. In some cases, that's happening. In some cases, we're prepping for that. Obviously, everybody's in briefings more, and the anxiety level is up a little bit. So here are some things that today we're going to talk about how to make sure that you kind of debunk all those myths that are out there and keep yourself fit mentally, keep your immune system fit, and make sure that you're making time for yourself and focusing on your level of fitness. So here we go. So the first excuse, boom, I think a lot of us have used this, is I don't have time. And during this pandemic, let's take a step back a little bit. Our new norm has changed, which means our daily schedules have changed. Kids are at home now. Our shifts might be a little bit longer. Firehouses are closed now. So if you used to work out at the firehouse, even off shift, you're maybe not able to do that. Our days have changed. Our norm has changed. And with that, I think a lot of us scramble to try to create a new norm, and maybe that new norm isn't healthy. And part of that is, let's go back to the case where your kids are at school. Now they're at home, so you don't have that time from like 10 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock to work out. And I get it. I understand that. But what you need to do is think you have to create a new norm, and that new norm must be healthy. And within that norm, you have to find time to exercise, whether it's at your day at the firehouse or whether it's at your day now at home, if you're working from home and you're home a lot more. Now, the other part of this is, I don't have my gym, and we'll address that a little bit further down. But the first thing you need to understand is you do have time. You're just choosing to do different things throughout your day, right? Like, so now I might have to get Susie, Bobby, Billy, whatever, logged in at school, and I want to monitor their schooling. Well, kids get along and figure this stuff out. So, if you log Susie, Billy, Bobby in, go and do your 20 minutes or 30-minute workout. Take turns if you can, but you have to make time for it. And, when you break it down, and we're going to break it down a little bit better further in this podcast, but 30 minutes is only 2% of your day. So what are you doing with the other 98% of your time? You have to be able to carve out time. So, don't choose to not work out. Find a way. even find ways to incorporate more activity through the day. The 10,000 steps things with Fitbits are really good right now because they're motivating people to stand up, get moving, take walks with the family, take walks with friends, obviously practicing social distance if you choose to do that. So I think a lot of times when it comes down to making time and finding time for fitness, it's a mindset. It's not about schedules, really. It's, all right, this is a priority in my life. I am going to carve out at least 30 minutes, and darn it, I'm going to do it during this time. So when everyone says, I don't have time, first of all, 30 minutes is only 2% of your day, number one. And number two, I'm going to force you and to look in the mirror and recreate a new normal that's part of your life. And it must be. You have to, especially now, going back to what I introed and started with this podcast, time can not be an excuse any longer. So first one, time, let's debunk it. You have to change your mindset and create that time and make it a priority. We're going to touch a little bit more on that. But the second thing is, I'm lacking motivation. I'm at home now. I don't really figure. I can't. Maybe you were training for an event. Maybe you were training for a standard. Maybe you were training for a 5K, and now all those things are closed. Maybe you're training for a wedding. All those things are closed, and you lack your motivation. Well, here's an eye-opening motivation for you. Fitness and staying fit helps to promote a healthy immune system, helps to promote a healthy mental health platform for your own mind. It helps to deal with anxiety. It obviously helps you perform your job better, and it helps you avoid death, especially when you consider what things kill us as firefighters. So if you really need motivation, just look up and around you. Right now, the coronavirus, the biggest talk is that it's affecting people with compromised immune systems. So what do you do to combat that? You make sure that your system is functioning at, on all cylinders at 100%. And that includes your immune system. That includes, obviously the way your body moves. So really, if you're lacking motivation, I think you're not looking around you. For me, what motivates me is looking my crew in the eyes and saying, look, I'm doing everything I can to provide you with the best me possible. So, I don't want to look at them and say my mental health let me down, my fitness let me down. So for me, my motivation is no further than looking around me. For you, personally, you got to dig in a little bit deeper. It just kind of goes back to that first one. You have to just find a way to make time, 30 minutes a day. You have to find a motivation within you, and that might be a pair of pants that you want to get back into. It might be your family. Right now, your kids, believe it or not, you're with your kids a lot more than you probably ever have been, and they're looking at how you run your life. They're looking for that example. And my plea to you is to be that healthy example and let them be your motivation. Let your crew be your motivation. Again, I never want to tell my crew and my family and my department that my fitness let me down. It might, right? But I want to do everything I can to minimize that risk. So for motivation, I think really go look in a mirror, figure out what really motivates you. And if something doesn't, maybe just put a calendar up and say, look, I need to start moving more, for my own job, for my own mental health. And, your motivation, your goal might be just to work out 12 times in the next month. And so this all goes together. Set a new goal, reassess, find that goal that motivates you, find that thing that motivates you, and don't let that become an excuse. And I think it really has to deal with, who you are and what you want to be, as far as, what kind of example do you want to set for your kids and what kind of example do you want to set for your department and your crew. So there's a lot of solutions there. Again, all this stuff that I'm talking about, I just did a blog on it, so you can read a little bit more about it. And there I mentioned you could create a Google chart to make sure that you're keeping track of your workouts. With FRF, we now have a tracking app with all of our programs, so you can monitor your progress that way. And a lot of people have commented that really has motivated them because they look on the calendar and say, okay, here's my workout for the day. Saves them time, keeps them motivated. And you could get more information on the FRF app on the blog post, and I'll leave all the links within the intro to the blog here. So this brings us to number 3. So time, that's a bunch of BS. Motivation, same thing. Look within, take a deep, hard look in your soul and mirror and figure out what motivates you. The other one now with excuse 3, I think it's a little bit more valid now, is that I don't know how to train. I don't know how to train properly. I don't have a workout. You might have gone to classes before at your gym. You might have gone to the gym and done the workouts there. Now that gyms are closed, you may say, gosh, I don't know how to train. I have, a set of dumbbells and a water jug at home. How do I create a program for that? Well, first of all, there are a lot of resources on the internet, and a lot of us are just attached to the internet now more than ever because you're following the pandemic or you're having to homeschool your kids. And I know a lot of people are Googling how to do the new math, right? So with that Google, you could Google how to do at-home workout programs, how to stay fit at home, how to work out with minimal equipment. And right now with FRF, and one of the reasons why I wanted to redo this post is I created a 40-day at-home program that's free. It's free for first responders. All you got to do is click the link, fill in your name and email, check your email, and in 30 minutes, I will send you your login information. You also have to check your spam folder, by the way, so some of those messages are going there. But you'll log in. There's a 40-day program. There's workout options for no equipment. I actually teach you how to create some equipment using some bed sheets or some webbing. There's also options for dumbbells. If you have some dumbbells at home, I try to cover all the bases, and yes, it's free. The link is in this blog post intro. It's also on the website, FRF, firerescuefitness.com. So as far as, not knowing what to do, we've kind of answered that and taken that whole excuse out of the picture for you. Again, you can also reach out to me with any personal questions you have. If you don't think that the program caters to you, which trust me, it does, because there's over 4,000 firefighters using it right now. I should say first responders using it right now. And then you can also join our Facebook group where a lot of people have the same issues that you are, and they are coming up with some really clever and creative ways to work out. Matter of fact, I just did a poll on the FRF Facebook page, and we have 190 some thousand followers there. And people were saying that right now they feel comfortable not going back to their gym, that they're having a really fun time using the FRF resources and some other resources and creating their own workout programs and then adding to our FRF program. So it's been awesome to follow, and it debunks your excuse right there. I don't know what to do. BS, I got a program for you. You can click the link. Number 4 excuse, I'm way too tired. I'm going to tell you this little thing that I like to think about when I'm tired. Objects in motion have a tendency to stay in motion. Objects at rest have a tendency to stay at rest. If you are tired, go for a walk. If you are tired, start moving. Take a little lap. Go play with your kids. Do something active, and you'll start to get a little bit more, juice, as I like to say. You get your blood flowing, and you feel like you can do more and move more. I think, I use the analogy on the blog about your mind is like a spoiled child. If you give into its demands without a fight, it's just going to keep, seeking that. So if you are inactive, it's going to wear on you. All your systems start to, I think your systems don't work as hard. Your body doesn't have to work as hard, and you kind of get in this lull. So the best thing to do if you're tired is to get moving. Now, you might need a cup of coffee. You might need some caffeine. You might need to make sure that you're well hydrated, and you can rely on nutrition here too. A lot of times, if you're really, really tired, look at what you're eating. I just had someone email me what they were eating in the day. And they just said, they're really, really tired. And we found out they weren't eating a lot of protein. They weren't eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. They weren't eating, they started to reach for energy drinks, and that was actually depleting their energy after a while and messing with their insulin response. And, they just sent me a week recap, and that they're feeling a lot better. They're drinking more water. They're eating more consistently. So I think a lot of times when it comes down to being tired, think about objects in motion, stay in motion, look at your nutrition. And then, every once in a while, a cup of coffee is all right. Green tea is really good for you. But I think it kind of just, goes back to evaluating what you're doing and why are you tired. Now, there are other issues, obviously, that can go into it. If you're recovering from an illness, I think you could tie into motivation. Just think, okay, I'm just going to go for a 10-minute walk. every day this week, and then start moving it up from there. But being way too tired, I get it, and then look at the first thing that we talked about was time. You may have to rethink your schedule. Wake up before the kids do to do some activity around the house and some working out around the house. But when it comes down to it, you really, again, it's about prioritizing fitness. And when you start moving and you start to stay fit, you're going to really start to feel yourself get more energy. And a lot of times when I'm feeling run down, I have an exercise bike in my house. I go sit on that bike for 10 minutes. Next thing I know, I'm getting my workout in. So don't let that way too tired hold you back, right? So last excuse. I've heard this one already. I don't have time. All right, I'm going back to this because it's the number one excuse people use. It's the number one thing that we tell ourselves, that we don't have time. Well, we talked about prioritizing your time, talked about creating a new norm where you incorporate fitness into your life. And this excuse, when I blogged about it, I kind of broke it down a little bit more. If you feel like you really don't have 20, 30 minutes in your day, my first thought is, well, God, your life must be really hectic right now. I'm very anxious, especially with everybody at home, and staying at home. If you're in the front lines, I understand. If you're a nurse that's working 12, 14, 18-hour shifts, what I would tell you there is to look at yoga and to look at just, 10-minute walks here and there throughout your day, if you can, just to try to find ways to stay moving, find ways to incorporate in good nutrition. So I can understand a little bit more, but when you write it down on paper, write the number 168. There are 168 hours in each week. You can do the math on it. Go ahead. But when you break it down, 168 hours, and then if you figure in you're sleeping 10 hours a day, that's 70 hours. If you're working, or if you're working 10 hours a day, sleeping 8 hours a day, you still have over 40 hours where you can find a way to incorporate in, an hour, 2 hours through the week of fitness or activity. So when you really break down the numbers, it doesn't make any sense, especially if you're listening to this, you can listen to this on a walk. You can listen to this doing your workout. You can listen to this podcast on the exercise bike. So find ways to do, multiple things if you really are that stressed on time. But really, everyone has enough time. You just have to find a way to get it in. You can also break up FRF workouts. Do this. We start with an active movement. We do core, then we do strength training, and then we do energy system development. So a little bit of cardio. We like to do intervals. You can break that workout up into 2 or 3 different segments. So you might do the active movement and some core work. Then later on in the afternoon, you do a little quick warm up. You do the strength, and then right before the evening, you do a little walk, run, whatever with the family, and you broke your workout up into 3 different segments, and you can get it done that way. In the firehouse, I get it. Sometimes you get calls that disrupt it, and you started your workout, you got 2 or 3 calls, and by the end of the day, you're like, all right, I need to just go to bed. I get it, but don't think of that as a negative. Think of that as a positive. You didn't get your workout in, but you went through the motions, and sometimes going through the motions really helps set up the next day. Going through the motions really helps keep this part of your lifestyle. And it's all about performing healthy habits. And when you step away, really all this podcast, this particular one is about, is just doing that, creating healthy habits throughout your day and finding ways to do that, right? I'm kind of calling BS because, we all have excuses, right? Everybody's got them. But why do some people stay fit and why do some people work out consistently? It's because they find a way. And I'm pleading with you to find a way, especially now, because the more time you take for yourself, the better you can be prepared, the better you can serve those around you, including your family. Okay? If you want to get fit, you have to give away one thing, only one thing, and that's your excuse. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you got a little bit, maybe this was a little eye-opening for you and said, all right, he's right. I just got to find a way. I got to dig a little deep, find what motivates me. If I'm tired, I got to get moving. I understand that. Set a new goal, set a new norm. Don't let these excuses impede your fitness progress, impede your health. Don't let them deter you from being FRF. So with that, everybody, stay safe, stay positive. Let me know if you think I'm onto something or on something. If you like this, please Leave comments, send me any questions. Take advantage of the Get FRF free program. You'll see the links down below. And until next time, folks, thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast with your host, Aaron Zamzow. Please tune in again soon for more fitness tips for fire rescue athletes.